Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Gemini and your moon in Virgo. And there were a few of you who have this combination who wanted it. And I was thinking to myself, okay, now I just did the other version. So how can I make this different? Because we have the same two signs. It's just that Gemini is a sun sign instead of Virgo. And I think that how I would characterize this is when we're looking at Gemini as a sun sign, it means that Gemini is taking the lead. And that means that we emphasize the Gemini qualities since the sun is so important in terms of determining the basic core personality traits, the types of careers and other interests that you have. The sun sign is uber important for that. So when we look at Gemini and Virgo, they're both ruled by Mercury. So you could be tempted to say that they are pretty much the same. And of course, there are going to be similarities. They're both mutable signs and they're both ruled by Mercury. So they're both going to have an intellectual bent. However, Gemini is an air sign and Virgo is an earth sign. So the air element is more abstract and anything a Gemini person learns, they may be like even something like astrology. The Gemini, and I've actually had people, probably clients, but also people, conversing on YouTube or what have you on my channel. And they're very out in the ether about astrology. Like they get really caught up in this, the weeds or the minutia of all these different things, because that abstract mind loves a challenge and loves to just, and also loves to collect all this stuff. Virgo is more about how can I use this stuff. And I said in the other video that my moon is in Virgo. My sun is in Sagittarius, just in case you were wondering. But when I do readings, I'm very cognizant of making something useful for daily life and not just trying to challenge you or me intellectually, because that is totally not. I have a lot of earth in my personal planets and I really like to keep it down to earth. And the Gemini person is not like that. The more intricate, the better. So how this can play out is that it's very easy for you to get lost in your thoughts, to be very ADD and jump from one interest to the other. As I was noting, if Virgo is the sun sign, the person is going to be more grounded, and this can be the more flighty combination with the sun being in Gemini and the Gemini mind being the monkey mind, that because of that love of collecting little tidbits of information, it can make the person totally drowning in facts or drowning in information rather than, streamlining it for what they need in the moment. And Gemini craves novelty too. I would say more than Virgo, because I mean they're both. It's going to be mercurial, so that the changeability factor is going to be present regardless. But I think with Gemini being an air sign and being ungrounded, there is that tendency to twist in the wind, if you will, and that can lead to not being, when somebody isn't grounded, there's an instability, and that can show up in different ways. Maybe they have trouble applying themselves in life because they are dabblers. There's that saying, a jack of all trades and a master of none. And this is exacerbated by the moon being in Virgo, because the moon is the emotional nature. When Virgo is there, the person this is more of the shadow self, so it can really lend itself to self-criticism. And this can even apply to how you were raised by your mom. Your mom might have been like a Virgo, regardless of what her sun sign is or was. And she may have been too critical of you, and that has made you doubt yourself. And so there can be different different types of results of this treatment, where the Gemini person starts things and doesn't finish them, when the going gets tough, when they feel inadequate, they might drop what they're doing and go somewhere else. So whether it is a job that is where you feel like people think you're not competent, and so then you just quit very abruptly, or you're in school and you feel that other people are smarter than you. And even if you have to understand something, people can be very intelligent and yet have other issues that make it hard for them to succeed in the classic classroom setup. And this can range from ADD to dyslexia and other learning disabilities. And because of the nature of the social element of a classroom, it's very easy for people to compare themselves to others, and feeling that they're slow, that they're not grasping things as quickly, that they're too quick to forget things, and then not feeling as intelligent as they really are. So things to look out for are look to see if you have hard angles from, for instance, Mercury to Neptune, like a square or an opposition, or you have Mercury in the third house. Neptune in the third house. That's Gemini's house. There's just different things that can indicate, but you would know too. If that were the case, you wouldn't need any proof. But I'm just thinking of how this can play out, because a Gemini person really prides themselves on their intellect. So if they have had any kind of issues with learning disabilities, for instance, it can be devastating to their sense of self. The sun is the healthy ego, the egoic, the word ego has a bad rap of narcissistic tendencies and stuff like that. But really it's about your self-concept, your identity. And of course, this is not a permanent identity. It's for this lifetime, because you're a Gemini in this lifetime, but not in every lifetime. But I was just thinking of Doja Cat, because I just did a video on her, and I was thinking of that line where she said you can't trust a Gemini or something. And but anyway, in terms of the type of work that you might do, obviously anything mental is going to be very appealing to you. You may have an affinity for the healthcare field because your moon, which is connected to health, is in Virgo, which is connected to health, the sixth house. Also, teaching is a biggie. Lecturing, well, that's teaching, and that would be more academia. Yeah, I think that you would be particularly good at higher education because you do have the Virgo part can really lend itself to a lot of, you know, the ability on the level of the other parts of being a teacher. It was interesting, because I have a background in education, and one of the things that they were saying was that it's not just about, I remember, one of those textbooks, it's not just about teaching, it's all the other things like, you have to keep books, they're talking about the grading books and all that stuff. And so Virgo has an eye for detail. And when you think about the high school teacher who has like 5 classes and has all these students in each class, probably at least 100, and has to enter all of the grades. Now they have, computers, so it's a little bit easier than those old grade books. They probably don't have those anymore. I probably sound like I'm 100 years old. But even with computers, you still have to enter data, and you can, get it screwed up. We're all human, right? So that helps. The paperwork angle, the secretary vibe of the Virgo works in this case. In terms of your attitude towards relationships, and also you would be good at media and that kind of thing. In terms of relationships, Gemini is very much a free-wheeling type of person. You are, you might like to keep your options open. You might have Venus in Gemini and be very, have a tendency to have 2 relationships going at the same time. Hopefully, each person knows about each other. But yeah, things like that can happen, and you just might have that orientation where you don't naturally gravitate towards settling down at a young age. Now, that's not to say that you can never settle down, and certainly as you reach your first Saturn return, you might start entertaining that, which is around the age of 28 to 30-ish. You might entertain the notion of like, oh, maybe it would be a good idea to have some kind of relationship with somebody, but you have special needs. You are somebody who needs a person who is going to give you a long leash, or better yet, not a leash at all. So one of the things that we sometimes see when we look at charts is that the Venus and Mars position, let's say your Venus and Mars are in Cancer or even Taurus, you might find yourself even as having that moon in Virgo, that could really seal the deal, and you might be attracted to earth or water signs and yet find them not your cup of tea. And yet you just like one after the other, you have these relationships. One of the reasons they might not be your cup of tea is because they're very domesticated. And you tend to be, being a masculine sign, it's not that you just never are home, but you just tend to be more acclimated towards the outer world. So what happens is you're not on the same page with those kinds of people. And obviously, there are going to always be earth and water signs who might have a lot of air or fire, and they might be perfectly compatible with you. But I'm just, putting out the kind of things that can complicate these issues. So in any case, I think I'll leave it there. I hope that this resonated. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.